Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick, and today's unboxing is on Fruit Goobies by Revolution. Fruit Goobies, I think, are pretty decent. The only problem would be there's only 4 pieces in here. So if you're just beginning trying to figure out how to get CBD, the anti-inflammatory from the medical cannabis plant, into your system to fight inflammation, it's important for you to research, and hopefully these videos will give you a little idea what to do, but this unboxing is mostly to help people with the inflammation part. So this just happens to have mostly CBD, and there's, here is the label. I want you guys to always pay attention to where is the label? Oh, there it is. Here's the label. It gives you the breakdown of CBD to THC, active ingredients. And if there's CBD of 25 milligrams, CBDA of 0, THC of 4.2 milligrams, you'll still have THC in here, but I honestly do not think any of my patients, unless you have a gut problem, sometimes some people will have gut issues where they're absorbing everything by mistake. And those folks, you cannot predict about how much is going to be absorbed at one point in time. So you guys might have an issue, but for the most part, I don't think that the CBD dominant products that I talk about, holy mackerel, my arthritis is preventing me from opening the package. Okay, I'm taking the easy way out. I'm going in, surgically removing specimen. So if you have arthritis, this might not be a good thing to have unless you just want to cut the paper. Now, the problem is when you cut these, you expose all the gummy. Oh, no, they're individually wrapped. So that's a gummy stick. This is 25 milligrams. So each of these has 25 milligrams of CBD. And then, like I said, about 4.2 of THC. It's a dominant amount of CBD. So I want my patients to have this stuff last a long time. I don't know how much this costs. It's probably $30, I think, or maybe $20. But I expect maybe not more than 50 to 60 a month to dose CBD in your system twice a day. So that's very important. It has to be affordable, and it has to be absorbable. So we'll talk about that, but I'm going to just tell you what I would do with this. If this is 25 milligrams, I would probably just cut it here. I'm not going to be taking this, but I'd cut it here to make it last and do a portion twice a day. And I'll tell you why in a second. So the objective is to have a dose of CBD in your system twice a day, every day, to have levels get to therapeutic. So for my rheumatoid arthritis patients with joints that are swollen, for my patients that have cancer, where they're fighting inflammation at the cancer cellular level, for my patients with Crohn's disease, where they have inflammation inside their gut, for people with just osteoarthritis, I think there's always going to be a dominant trigger or amount of inflammation going on in those folks, and most others, even if you have insulin resistance. But the objective is to calm down that inflammation you have on your own with lifestyle change, but also to possibly use something natural. In addition to maybe anti-inflammatories, Aleve twice a day, Advil 3 times a day, prednisone bursts every once in a while, turmeric, cat's claw. So in the form of medical cannabis, if you get CBD in your system in the morning and at night, in theory, my guess is that you will have a decent amount in the blood eventually. So here's that, and notice I said eventually because it is hard to tell that you have enough. And what I've noticed with a lot of my patients who have chronic pain is after about 6 to 8 weeks, the pain will be a little less. It'll be tolerable. And I'm assuming that would be the break point when a lot of people develop CBD levels in the stream where they keep on building up until they maintain at a certain level. And again, I think it's fair to dose twice a day for my most severe patients 3 times a day. But again, the more you dose, the more money you'll spend, and it has to be affordable because there's other things like THC that you're going to have to get into to take care of that THC is the hammer to get you to sleep, or the hammer to calm down anxiety or PTSD, or the hammer to get pain away. Now, I'm not going to talk about THC too much because I want this to be mostly CBD. But if you can get a good level, consistent, and for a couple weeks, 6 to 8, you hopefully then can experiment with your THC doses. For a patient I saw today, Denise, I suggested building up first with CBD, getting it in the system. She already uses recreational, and I said continue the recreational as is, but start building up CBD. Because CBD, again, not only does it help with inflammation, it also is the modulator for the THC. So if you're going to go from recreational cannabis or cannabis from your experience in the 70s, and you're going to start doing cannabis of inhalation form, vape, or smoking the flower, it is powerful. So you might want to have a modulator, something that'll help decrease such a spiked high in you before you start experimenting. So again, that's what CBD does. CBD modulates. I consider it the big brother to THC. It modulates how high of a high you get. So it is important to get it in the system before experimenting with your THC. And again, the THC, everybody knows because it's so psychoactive. It hits the CB1 receptors in the brain and you can feel it. The CBD doesn't really hit that aggressively because it doesn't hit the brain. It hits points of inflammation, hits white blood cells. I talked about how CBD, in theory, might help the cytokine storm in case you get to that point of being exposed to COVID. And it's a theory of mine, but I think it's valid. So there's many uses for CBD, but I think overall, if you can just start dosing twice a day and get into a routine, then it might be easier. Have the parade start now, but there's other products that I've talked about before, the drops or tinctures, which some people don't like, that I've talked about on the channel. And if this is the first time you're finding me, don't forget to subscribe so you'll see when I do more. These are the tablets, sometimes a little easier. Half tablet twice a day, quarter drop twice a day, half drop twice a day. And then we have the Cannabis. I did this little squirt tube. You put it under the tongue. It gets into the bloodstream, twice a day dosing. Now, I haven't done anything with liquids. You can also do liquids, but I think that they go away fast. Zots and or syrup. So this you put in carbonated water. This you put in anything. You can just do it as a shot, almost like 5-hour energy, I think you can do. But, I mean, you're done with this. This is pretty cheap. It's like $10, I think. But you're done. So if you take a quarter of a dropper, quarter of a bottle, you do it as a shooter and you have drinks, or you mix a little portion of this into carbonated water, you will again get CBD into your system. And just another alternative to getting it in. Then there's also CBD vaping. Again, dominant CBD, you see 4-to-1. So you'll get a little bit of THC, it'll be inhaled, so it goes straight into the bloodstream versus all this other stuff, which goes into the digestive system. Yeah, even the drops that you put under the tongue, I'm hoping that sublingual will get you to absorb it underneath the tongue quickly, but you still have to swallow the rest, and it all goes through the digestive system. When it gets into the digestive system, it's unpredictable as far as when the inflammation will be hit. But again, since there's no big psychoactive effect to CBD, I think that if you just trust that your timing is proper, so you go from day one and you count 6 weeks, I think at the 6-week mark, you can say, take a journal, take a metric to see how you're feeling with regards to your pain level. I bet you'll be decreased. If you wanted fast relief, this might help, but this is only for rescue, in my opinion. I do not think vaping will get you high levels of CBD in your system to the point of the way your edibles or the orals will get you to a good therapeutic level. This might be a nice piggyback for anything here in case you have a really bad day or you're going to be traveling or your gut's too screwed up and you want to go through the bloodstream of the lung. This might be a way to do it. Those of you who smoke or vape, you will never get a level up to the high and maintenance levels like you will with edible. Now, again, if you're going for the recreation part, the PTSD rescue part, you need something fast. That's where you take inhale. But the rest of this, where we're in it for the long haul, I think edible is a lot easier, just like taking vitamins or just like taking fish oil. You're supposed to do fish oil twice a day because the gut can only absorb 2,000 milligrams of total omega-3. Well, I think that if we can dose twice a day, assuming that after something called a first pass effect, that's when you swallow and then it gets into the bloodstream, and then after a while it comes around to the liver again and gets metabolized into a second product, and that goes around. It prolongs the effect when you have it in the digestive system. So versus just going straight to lungs, blood vessels, brain, and inflammation markers, or the white blood cells, as far as CBD in the lung part. So the overall thing I want you to remember is that you can find your own way, but I would highly suggest that you take advantage of the beauty of this medical cannabis plant and take advantage of the CBD portion. I think everybody should be on CBD. Then you have the other part, the THC. Those of you who have problems with acute pain, great results when you use THC for its pain relief. But you have to dial it in, because sometimes doing too much THC, because this stuff is really potent. Some of the flowers are really strong. The vapes are a little bit easier to control. The shatters or the waxes that you can smoke, I've never felt comfortable with that, because it's like you're smoking like a crack pipe. But that's a little bit more, it's not as hot as the vape. It still gets to the system, and it's easy to contain, and it doesn't smell like weed. It doesn't fill the whole house with weed smell. So there's different ways for that. I probably should do a video on that, but both big chemicals, the THC portion and the CBD portion in this plant, are awesome. In this case, it's just learning about what's available for CBD. You're going to have to read sooner or later. I want you to either check out leafly.com or read through the text, especially when it comes to trying to figure out which plant you like. There's so many weird sounding names for these plants, the hybrids especially. I mean, sativa and indica everybody knows, but there's a lot of hybrids. I think there's so many hybrids now that you can't trust that an indica is truly an indica. Some indicas will get you stimulated, and some sativas will make you calm, which is totally backwards. But I think that's why we have, that's the effect of crossbreeding and using science to come up with different products. Good book, find your own, read, try to inquire, ask your bud tenders, your salespeople, and experiment. Don't forget to keep a cannabis journal, because sometimes we forget what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what will be least expensive. I'll put a link down below to the journal that I keep. I don't really keep it anymore because it's so easy for me to figure out what I want. And then if you have any questions or comments about how you try to get CBD into your system, or any bad side effects that you have had, which I really don't think you'll have, put them down below. I have topicals too, and I honestly don't think topicals are great for a little bit of pain relief if you're doing a lot of work and you've maxed on this and you have your THC. I think topicals give an extra added benefit, but unless you're really old, have low fat, and are really thin-skinned, those topicals don't really affect up here. If anything, they do add a little bit of relief with areas of joints, I think. Or for my very apprehensive patients, I have older patients that just don't want to be hooked on drugs or hooked on marijuana because of what they think of pot from the 70s and 60s. I think a topical is a nice compromise. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of guidance. Pass this on or share this with other people who are trying to find a way or just beginning. And I'll see you at the next clip.